At long last, the village of Draenor. We can finally take a load off and rest.
Stands down, puny mortal. The shard will be ours.
Well, what do we have here? I've been waiting for you, Junk Quest. It's not a coincidence that you showed up here today. I'm sure you're fully aware at this point that our own world is in grave danger.
Look, old man, what is happening? I'm just a humble adventurer from Lumbridge. I don't think this is meant to be my fight to fight.
And that's where you'd be wrong, Junk Quest. To understand the danger at hand, we must begin a long time ago. The dawn of the Third Age, the beginning of the end. As the Dark Wars raged on, an unequivocal struggle for supremacy continued to ravage the once peaceful and pristine lands of Gielinor. Zamorak, a once mortal Mahjarrat, now a being of pure chaos, had all but brought the once thriving Zarushan Empire to its knees, controlling the Stone of Jas and the Staff of Armadil. Zamorak was able to siphon Zaros' power and ascend to godhood. The war for the artifacts would rage on for a millennia before Zamorak's last stand in the Zaroshan region of Fallen 3. It was a last-ditch effort, but Zamorak pounded on the stone, unleashing an explosion the likes of which we would never see again. As the story goes, the blast disturbed Lieutenant's life force, Anima Mundi, to such a degree that Guthix was awoken from his long slumber, keen to restore the balance he had once crafted. But what if I told you that, upon striking the Stone of Jas, a shard splintered off? A shard that would be unknown to gods and mortals alike for thousands of years. A shard discovered by my ancestors, passed down over an impossible number of generations, that now lies here with me.
Alright, so they're after the shard that you have? How do you expect that to be my problem?
I am an old man, Chunk Quest. I fear this may be my last great adventure. You, on the other hand, are dreaming with the ignorance of youth. To prevent the world from facing the same fate as Fallen 3, we must work together to push back the Blight of the Mahjarrat.
Nobody knew that everything was about to change. Nothing ever happens here in Lumbridge. That is, until the Mahjarrat showed up and plunged all we knew into darkness. My name is Chunk Quest, and I'm on a journey to bring Gielinor back to the light. Chunk by chunk, completing tasks will allow me to expel the Blight with the ultimate goal of liberating all of Gielinor's major cities. Sure, right now I know I don't look like much, but one day, I'll be unstoppable. A man can dream, can't he? Welcome to Chunk Quest, Descent into Darkness.
Welcome back at long last to Chunk Quest Descent into Darkness. Folks, it has been a while. We have been in mining and smithing purgatory for the longest time, but in this episode, 1,904 hours later, we're finally going to finish hitting rocks and hopefully move on to bigger and better things. As far as the tasks go here in Draenor North, we still have a whole lot to get done. And rather than go through them all one by one, just know we're going to need to smith a whole lot of adamant items, with the penultimate goal being 88 smithing to craft an adamant plate body within the Draenor sewer. And man, I know it's a sewer, but the whole situation, it stinks. The good news there, however, a whole lot of best in slots are incoming. I mean, we're going to have full adamant on this account. Even that sounds too good to be true, but we've been putting in the work, let me tell you. So without further ado, let's get past all of this god-awful smithing so we can move on to what I promise will be a seriously good time. Let's go. Welcome at long last back to the grind, my friends. We're starting out here with something actually a little bit different than smithing. But after so much time mining and smithing, you can't blame me for switching things up however I can. We're going to need 46 range to equip some addy bolts, so we're just training up here on some chickens. We can stack some feathers to make some arrows with. This is one of a couple small tasks before we dive headfirst into smithing again, so let's enjoy this while we can. And here is the other small grind we're working on right now. So during our mining, we of course pulled a few diamonds because we were mining forever, which is of course going to give us a 43 crafting grind in order to cut it. And at first I was like, damn, oh god, that stinks.
I'm going to be shearing sheep forever. But since we do have range access and access to cows now, we actually can do sinew, which is going to be a hell of a lot faster. And if we turn that sinew into crossbow strings, what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with, 15 XP. Okay, balls of wool would have been 3. So this blows that right out of the water. My God. Don't feel too bad for me, however, though, because we have a ton of uncut gems to also help us get along here. In fact, cutting all of these is going to get us a ton of XP towards our goal. You know what? Let's get the best of both worlds. We'll stop killing chickens for a bit. We'll go kill the cows. We do need some more raw meat, of course, anyway, for the sinew. But now we can train our range, and we've got 40 range here on the cows, just 7 more levels, and a few more crafting levels to go, and we'll be back to business. It has come to my attention that we can now upgrade this here willow short bow to a yew short bow. Pretty huge. This is going to be our best arrow slinger until we hit a magic tree. Here's a happy little surprise mystery box. Will this be the stale bread? This is a body rune. This is worthless. Here's the fine crafting level of 43. This is going to allow us to cut diamonds, which is great because we've got some in the bank. We've also got some rubies that need cutting up, so chunk task is complete, but let's keep blasting. Why would anybody ever need drugs when you can just chop a gigantic gem stockpile like this? Look at those XP drops. And another quick task for us. We can actually now upgrade our range gear, which is really nice. We're going to bring our leather gear here up to studded quality. We're just going to attach the... And you need a normal leather body. Okay. We should be able to make the pants anyway. And then, yeah, there's the pants. And then we can head back to Lumbridge Bank and we'll make that body right quick. Sheesh, that's an attractive man. The other thing we're going to have to do is just a quick Lumbridge teleport. That is going to be a diary task checked off for us. So now it's time to smith. Look, smithing sucks. And yeah, it's super outdated. But I'll tell you what, we've got 75 now, and we can make an adamant scimitar. That's a heck of a lot nicer than our mist spear, that's for sure. A real training weapon. On a one chunk, man, there's always certain grinds that are always looming over you. And because of this, I turned half of those steel bars into 150,000 iron arrow tips. So if we get something like the smoldering stone grind in the future, I'd like to be prepared at the very least, and we should be now, so probably plate bodies from here on out. Another 5,000 bars down. It's really nice to start seeing some elks stack up of all content, however. I know you guys have seen a ton of smithing on this channel, so try to make my way through this fairly quickly. Just 8,000 more bars to go. I'm honestly going to blast through this in no time, but I do reserve the right to complain just one last time about my pathing here. Imagine how many less hours this would have taken if I just could have had a closer bank. Like, it's nuts. But complaints aside, 80 smithing, just 8 more levels to go. Okay, it's officially depression time. That is the last of our steel bars. We've got 10 left, which means we're going to have to go yearn for the mines again. One day I'll be free, but that day is not today. Let's chat a bit about mining. We're going to be skipping the steel this time around. Iron is just going to be faster. We've already got 10,000 iron built up here, which is great. But you know how many iron we're going to need to hit our smithing target of 88? We're going to need a cool 110,000 ore. We mined 140,000 in the previous chunk. So between the two, we are going to click 250,000 rocks. Isn't that hauntingly beautiful? Beginner casket, anything fun to be had? Nope, nothing fun. Huge shout out here to Kite Man, who tracked me down, tried to give me a bond. Honestly, I was so taken aback. I really wasn't sure if I should take it or not. But in the future, any of these gifts I receive, what I'll do is I'll pool them up. Maybe we can run some community events or something together. That would be a lot of fun. Clearly, Kite Man is a distinguished gentleman, and if you love the vids too, be sure to like and subscribe. That's going to make sure that I keep them coming from my side. Look, we haven't been celebrating every milestone, but every now and then, man, you've just got to. That is going to be 92 mining. We are now halfway to 99. Having done all of this on iron and coal rocks is wild. just a bunch of mining as Jagex originally intended. My intent was to craft all the Addy gear at once, but I'll be honest, mining has not afforded me much of an AFK method, so I'm gonna go ahead, craft this Addy axe, chunk task complete. This way I can do some wood cutting and fire making passively, so the gains aren't stagnant. I had to hop back on the computer. We were doing some of that passive AFK, getting a lot of arrow shafts down for future arrow creation, but we ended up with a casket as well. Let's take a look at what's in here. Ooh, all right. Well, I think we have all of those items, but it's funny, we've come a long way. That would have been a dream casket back in the day. Are we wasting a lot of time? Yeah. Do we have 80 wood cutting? Yeah. We had enough feathers for 50,000 headless arrows, which means we're gonna pull through like 50,000 steel arrows here, still have 100,000 arrowheads waiting for us once we get a better feather source. Look at those XP drops, oh my goodness. We ended up getting up to 75 fletching, which is awesome. We can make rune arrows should we ever have the opportunity to do so. But for now, back to the problem at hand. We've got 30,000 iron ore now. We need a whole lot more, so it's time to get focused. 93 mining. We've officially crossed the Rubicon on this one, much more than halfway now. We'll probably end up around high 90s by the time this is over, but until then, we're smacking rocks. I can't deal with all these boring clips, so we're jumping ahead quite a bit forward in time. At this point, we have 70,000 iron ore mined. We've crafted just over 4,000 iron plate bodies, and we have 15,000 more iron bars to process. It should get us close, but we've also been on the losing end a bit of that 50% smelting chance, so we will just have to see. We're gonna get very close. I don't know if you guys see it yet, but I can finally see an end here that is 85 smithing. We can now smelt runite ore and our first rune items, which is crazy. How did this little account become so stacked? 86 smithing. Wow. One more level to go. We can make adamant plate legs and a rune axe, which is pretty cool. Hopefully we don't hit that runite ore for a while, because that could be tragic. Here's a big milestone moment. We're now a ruby rank in the Chunk Chat CC, which means we have officially been at this account for 1 whole year. And I'll tell you what, here is to much, much more progress in year 2. We did take a little processing break, but now we're back to the mines for a substantial level, 95 mining. You might not like it, but this is peak male physical form, guys. Whew, and just like that, 96 mining. This is going to be the last mining level in this grind. 96 mining feels absolutely surreal to me. The start of both these mining grinds feels like both yesterday and forever ago. Whew, we're on the cusp of greatness now, my friends. If my calculations stay true, this last 40,400 iron ore should get us to our goal. See you guys all at the finish line. Now, we're all done with the mining portion of the grind, but I just can't leave here without pushing through this last level. In the past 2 grinds, these stepping stones have taken us from 27 to 40 agility. I couldn't leave without capping it off on that nice round number. 40,000 ore into 20,000 bars. If I roll mining and smithing again, I'm quitting the account. 87 smithing. We are now through all of our iron bars, and we are ungodly close to 88. However, I do need to smelt some adamant bars to make up all the items for our chunk tasks, so let's finish off doing just that. All right, folks, this is the moment. This has all been so long coming in. I'm so excited for this. First off, we have our best in slot stab, adamant sword. Then our new overall best in slot weapon, the adamant scimitar. Beyond excited for this upgrade. Absolute beefcake. Then we can grab ourselves an Addy 2H, our new best in slot flinch weapon, our new best in slot prayer, the adamant mace. Let's do some armor. How about at long last, the adamant plate legs? A shield as green as they come. Here comes an Addy guide shield. What else will get us over the hump here? We've got Addy bolts. We need to wield these for a task. Can't forget our best in slot crush flinch in the Addy warhammer. And finally, ending off this several month grind to 88 smithing, we have the adamant Fulfhelm. And with that, we are finally able to create an adamant plate body and hightail it out of this chunk. But not before we get the rest of this shit done.
Better hurry my ass up before you click off the video, eh? And of course, let's finally create that Addy plate body. That is going to knock off both the task for creating one and the diary task for creating an Addy plate body in the Draenor sewer. So that is the hardest task in the entire chunk complete. Now to just get done with the rest of these tasks. Addy square shield, best in slot range defense. Gonna have to take out a couple chickens to get some feathers, but once we attach these to the bolts and equipped these, there is one more chunk task in the bag. Yo, I have full Addy armor. That still hasn't hit me. Just a handful more strikes of the hammer before we're finally done this chunk. Let's go ahead and make ourselves a medium helm. First thing on the list here. Oh, it's been a long time coming, guys. I can't believe we're finally doing it. So here we go. We're gonna make some knives. Those rooty tooty shooty knives. See what else we still need. We need a long sword. Let's grab ourselves a long sword. Next up, the chain body. Just one more thing after this, and you know what we're gonna send it home with? We're gonna send it home with an adamant battle axe. And with that completed, the chunk, it's done, baby. We did it. Look, I know my answer, but how about you guys? Are you ready to roll? Because I am pretty fucking ready to roll. All right, before we roll, let's chat for a quick second. So we survived our mining and smithing grinds. They're in the rear view now, and that's exactly where we'd like to keep them, trust me. But there is a chunk on the map right now that straight keeps me up at night. A chunk that we're only 2 rolls away from, and that chunk is West Falador. Not only would this chunk come with a 99 smithing grind for us due to it having runite ore, but it also comes with a 90 fletching grind to fletch adamant darts. Obviously, making this chunk a no-go zone. I don't want anything to do with it, so fingers crossed we can stay away from it. But that's enough about my fears and insecurities. Let's go roll the chunk. Okay, let's do it. It is clicked. Let's go. We are going to end up at South Falador Farm. Oh God. All right. So we are now 1 away from the hypersmithing grind. As far as Falador Farm goes, it's a pretty chill chunk. We finally have access to a few farming patches. We can start doing some farm runs. We need to plant some sweet corn for a task. And in order to do that, we're going to have to pickpocket some farmers. Little did I know that we needed 3 sweet corn seeds to plant the allotment patch, and these farmers only drop 1 and 2, so we had to hit the drop rate a couple times, but we ended up getting there eventually. The tasks in this chunk are to grow sweet corn, start Corsair Cove, and browse our new farming shop here. This farming shop is great to have. Bit of an upgrade over the patch shops that we already have. That compost is huge, the filled plant pots, those will all be really nice. But yeah, in quick chunks like this, I'm not going to spend a ton of time going over tasks. Just know that I do them all, and the major ones will always be highlighted. But there's the sweet corn planted. I'm not going to wait for it to grow. Let's just go ahead and roll our chunk. All right. So we're going to try to stay away from here. That's the only thing on this entire board that would be just awful. So, surely. Let's pick a chunk. Okay. Where we at? Where we at? Oh, Groats Farm. Free chunk. Completely free. Welcome to Groats Farm. One we've been excited to get for a long time. It's been on our radar as a free chunk for some time now. You've got the classic Lumbridge cow pen here, the classic one we all know and love. We've got Groats Farm over here, a couple more chicken spawns. I think there's an egg spawn back there. We've got more of these farmers, which we can probably turn the tag off for now that we're done pickpocketing them for those sweet corn seeds. Aside from that, what else we got? We've got a hop patch, small hop patch we can start using, and then that's pretty much everything in this chunk. So we're doing a great job at opening up the world like we really wanted to before we started here. Let's keep doing it, hopefully. There's not much to do with that roll, so we're gonna pick again. Let's unlock this whole map, baby. All right, we got Umbridge Swamp East.
Here we are in Lumbridge Swamp East. There are definitely some great unlocks here, which is nice, but much like the other chunks we've rolled, this should be fairly quick. We've got Death's Domain here, which we have a task associated with to get the Angel Gravestone, which isn't going to be a problem. We've already got the Curved Bone here from the frogs in our previous grind in Lumbridge Swamp West, so that's no problem. But the most notable thing about this chunk is we now have fishing unlocked, guys. With this small fishing net, we can now go ahead and catch some shrimps, which aren't going to be a whole lot of use to us food-wise, but they're going to build us up to be able to catch a fish spawn at 33 fishing. So I guess we'll just park our butts here with an axe and a net and get up to 33. Fishing was definitely a really nice way to just change the pace of things, but we did get to 33 pretty quickly, and pretty quickly after that we headed into the Lumbridge Swamp Caves and pulled out this fish spawn. 75 experience, that's actually pretty decent. Now, just a couple of other small tasks in this area. We've got to go visit Death's Domain, hook ourselves up with an Angel Gravestone. It does cost like 250k or something like that. But it's a good thing we sold those unstrung bows back in the day to the general store, because we've got a little bit of a nest egg and that chunk task is complete now. Also, this is how I figured out how Ozzy died, so that fucking sucks. Next up, it's time to make the mithril grapple that's going to carry us over the River of Lum into Mahjarrat. To be honest, I don't know if I have ever used a grapple in this game outside of quests, but that's the best thing about one chunk. It makes you try. Makes you try everything the game has to offer, that's for sure. Okay, so if I read the wiki correctly, we have to stick a mithril bolt into the grapple, then throw that bad boy on a rope. And then we should now be George of the Jungle coded. On our way down to the grapple, we're also going to just take a quick second to talk to this ghost to progress the Restless Ghost quest for another chunk task complete. Now, normally in the series, as you guys know, we're just grappling with our demons, but today we're grappling our way over into Mahjarrat, albeit a very small sliver of it, but we're up in this nonetheless. And that is all of our chunk tasks complete. Lumbridge Swamp is completely done. Let's go ahead and roll again. Okay, just kidding. I forgot to include Missile and Mystery, but like, for real. Let's roll. Now, to be perfectly honest, it was starting to get late, so I stopped doing the live reactions to these rolls, but let's see where Chunk Quest is headed next. This map is getting so big now, it's actually crazy. Falador South Wall. So again, we're just tiptoeing around Falador. Kind of scary on that front, but again, pretty much a free chunk. You guys ready to ball at the Falador Wall or what? The first thing that pops out here is we've got the air altar. We can't do anything with it right now, but surely this won't haunt our dreams in the future, right? Looks like there is a tiny sliver we can walk into Falador with and actually complete the only chunk task in this chunk, which is just to pickpocket a Falador guard. 30 coins, that's not bad for some quick money. Then I just wanted to see what's in the bottom here. So we've got a well, access to a spinning wheel, which we already have in Lumbridge, so not a big deal. Anything interesting in the armor shop? No, there is not. We can make every single thing that's available in here. So yeah, another basically free trunk. You want to roll again? But before we roll, let's talk about the fact that we are now adjacent to one of the scariest rolls on the entire map. One that I never really had on my radar until right now. Unlocking Lumbridge Swamp East puts us right beside an agility shortcut. Not the one that swings us to that sliver of Mahjarrat, but one that would swing us down a hole straight into hell. We're now adjacent to the Calphite Queen, one of the game's most fearsome and yet completely antiquated bosses. We've seen one chunkers do the grind before, but it's a grind that will require a whole lot of flinching and a whole lot of time. KQ boasts a lucrative drop table with uniques such as the fabled Dragon Chain Body and the elusive KQ head at 1 in 128. A Dragon 2H coming in slightly rarer at 1 in 256. A Dragon Pickaxe at 1 in 400, which would be a crazy thing to have, no doubt. But on top of those, you have things like the Jar of Sand at a whopping 1 in 2,000 rate, and then the pet, the Calphite Princess, at a frightening rate of 1 in 3,000. On top of this, KQ also deals poison damage, which I'm not even sure that I can really mitigate or overcome at this point, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But with that being said, let's just hope we avoid it. Let's go ahead and roll. Do we continue with this incredible streak? I mean, we've already doubled our map, so let's see. Here we go. We are in Mahjarrat Gate. Okay, another step into the desert. And not the one we were really scared of, however, so that's huge. Okay, we'll be rolling again with this one. Just a quick moment to quest start the feud, but let's go take a look. Welcome to Mahjarrat. I've wanted to come into here for a while now, so kind of surreal to unlock this chunk. We've got the fire altar here, our second altar that we're going to have, unlocked for when we do get rune crafting, which is a little scary, but oh well, we'll cross that bridge again when we get there. We've got Amir's Arena here, little sand casino, which isn't going to be much use to us, but proves for a lot of nostalgia. Now, here is the reason that I really wanted to unlock this chunk. We now have access to the gem trader here who sells sapphires, even if you got to world hop a couple times to find them in stock. So if we do get into a pinch and a crafting grind, this is going to be a really nice thing to have. And then the last thing we need to do before, again, we roll, believe it or not, kind of insane that we've rolled this many times, but we got to start the feud quest here, which we've done. Look at that. Anyone can buy it, just comes from the shop, but it kind of feels like a hate crime. But regardless, drip secured. Let's go roll again. All right, we can't keep getting away with this. Where is Chunk Quest off to next? Let's see. Go ahead and pick. We're going to be going to, the Crafting Guild. Wow. Now, we don't have a brown apron, and we don't require capes, so honestly, I think we've got another nothing chunk. Wow. Here we are in the Crafting Guild. Of course, we've got the building itself, the Crafting Guild. I do not have a brown apron, so I can't yet access it. There's a balloon transportation network point, but again, no access. And then here's the makeover mage. So if we do want to change our character now, we can. I looked at some things in here, but honestly, I didn't have the heart to change him. So just like that, after yet another free roll, we're making our way back to the chunk picker. I know our last few grinds on this account have been just god-awful content-wise, but I really hope you guys are enjoying this streak we're on. This has made it all just so worth it, and I'm absolutely chocked full of piss, vinegar, and adrenaline. The time has come to roll again. Let's see what's in the cards this time. All right, let's go. We are in Draenor South. Well, our massive roll streaks come to an end. Looks like it's time for the forestry grind, but geez, we've also got some huge upgrades in this chunk as well. I plan on starting with the Draenor South chunk next episode, so I don't want to go over too much, but we just came into some really excellent upgrades in rolling this chunk. Firstly, we now have access to the full Draenor agility course, which is massive because even though it's a low-level course, it sure beats the hell out of any agility obstacle training we might have been forced to do in the future. The other huge bonus is that we now have access to Master Farmers, which is about the best damn way for an Iron Man to farm seeds. And where we just unlocked South Falador Farm, it is officially time to get those farm runs going. And maybe most importantly of all, we now have access to the Draenor Bank, which should substantially speed up just about any activity that we might get ourselves into. Let me tell you, I will not miss that damn Lumbridge Bank. But guys, before we close today, I did have something, I've been feeling a bit weird about that I did want to run past you guys. I just need some feedback. So the overall goal of this account has always been to free 10 of Gilinor's most major cities from the Blight of the Mahjarrat. As per my rules, upon liberating a city, i.e. completing all of its chunks, we're supposed to be awarded with a free hand-selected chunk roll. Now, as somebody who admittedly kind of has regrets over not going full extreme one chunk from the get-go, I'm not sure if I even want to make it a little bit easier for myself by giving me that free pick option. Now, I'm bringing this up now because we've technically already liberated what I consider to be Lumberage, but still I've not yet made this decision on if I want to do the free roll or not. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I understand that this is my journey and ultimately it's going to come down to what I want to do, but you've all come alongside me on this journey too, and as such, I really want to know what you think, so thank you for your time. But folks, after long last, this is going to be the finale of the episode. I hope you had just as much of an unbelievable time watching all of these rolls as I did rolling them. But that's probably not possible because this shit has me on top of the world. But make sure to tune in next time. If I know anything about forestry, we have a lot of logs to chop on the horizon, so I'll get to that, and I'll see you all very soon. What an unbelievable ride over the past few months. The progress we've made scale-wise has been incredible. To be looking at some of the stats I'm seeing now, I couldn't have imagined this, how things were going to end up, a year ago. I can't wait to see where we end up next, guys. Please tell me you didn't watch the most recent episode without taking in the rest of the series. Okay, I'll forgive you, but you better get to study in the link below.